Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
Celebrity designer Jeff Lewis is back with Hollywood House Lift.
I'm excited to be working with new clients.
I'm not getting rid of that.
I hope I never see you both again.
An all-new season.
Those have to go. That has to go.
From oh wow
It's been an actual nightmare.
to oh wow,
Such an upgrade.
with celebrities like Josh Duhamel, Christina Ricci, and Gina Reyes. Dazzle.
It looks like Chuck E. Cheese.
Stream an all-new season of Hollywood House Lift with Jeff Lewis. Now stream on Freevee.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
In uncertain times, we could use someone to lean on. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma will stand by you with plan options to fit your budget. If you've recently lost your job, had a baby, or moved, you can still get the healthcare coverage you and your family need. Financial help may be available for those who qualify. Call 855-452-BLUE or visit hereforyouok.com to see if you're eligible to enroll. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
And welcome everyone to another episode of He Said, She Said. I am one of your hosts for the evening, Aggie, and with me is the very awesome Rowdy Rick. How are you doing tonight?
She's the only host that matters. I'm just a button monkey.
So not true. I'm guessing you were a little tired. Wee bit.
Oh, yeah. Wait, I mean, I've only done a trip to BFE and back twice this week. Yay. Yeah, my oldest son has moved his family out near Eufaula to a little town that nobody's heard of called it. Spelled like Alex, Oklahoma. Pronounced Alec, Oklahoma. But his kids go to school in a town with right around there that's one of the only towns with a school district called Hannah, Oklahoma. And my my next to youngest grandson graduated from kindergarten on Monday, and my oldest grandson from the same family graduated from 8th grade on yesterday. And the little butthead didn't even bother to say, hey, you should, dress up nice for pictures, because I'm like, dude, it's 90 degrees. I'm just wearing a t-shirt and some jeans. It'll be fine. And then I find out that the little butthead got co-valedictorian. And I'm all excited, making a big deal about it when it's over. And he's like, hey, Papa, that one sucks. First of all, they made a share. Second of all, you can make a big deal about it when I get the real one in 4 more years. I'm like, you little. I did, but then I got to think about it. I was like, I wish I had that level of cockiness at his age, because I never did. he's just like, I did it. It's awesome, kind of, but this one's kind of lame. So just hang out for the real one, because in 4 years I'm coming back. I'm like, damn, I wish I was that cocky. I wish I had that level of cockiness and confidence at your age, because I didn't have that. I eventually kind of grew into it, but it was only after I started doing things like this and started just throwing myself out there. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter anymore. I'm just gonna do it.
It's good that he's very confident. It also gives him a goal, as far as becoming valedictorian. I hate to say it, but I was not sure what a valedictorian was until after, like, almost the end of my sophomore year. So by then, I I didn't have the option. I couldn't make up for lost time, even though I was like a straight A student. Never had any B's or anything, but this went by an average score. So thousandths of one, point can make the difference. And so I missed out. I was eighth, not valedictorian, not salutatorian. I was eighth. out
In
of
the
out of
words,
715. Out of 715. So it was a fair size class, I guess. My
in
sister's
the
was worse.
words of the guy who I can't remember right now, who played on Get Smart, missed it by that much. Had to be done.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know
Yeah,
why.
no. If he is motivated to, like, yeah, I'm gonna be valedictorian. Just wait 4 more years. You'll see me again. I'll be valedictorian. I'm telling you, this incentive is gonna take him far. Even if he doesn't make it, if he makes salutatorian or something like that, it's still, that incentive is gonna take him very far. So
Oh no,
he's a good kid.
I was definitely happy about it. And now that I don't need to remember it, the name just popped up in my head. Maxwell Smart.
Yes, Don
Oh,
Adams.
hate
Thank you,
it when
Janelle.
that happens. Hate it when that happens. And poor Zelda showing her age again. Him tried to make a joke about me being the
She
Abbott
has no idea.
Costello. He's like, I don't even know what that means.
Okay, you need to watch some of the Abbott and Costello films, because they are classics, and they were quite possibly one of the best comedy duos of all time, if not the best. I mean, I can think of 2 other comedy duos as well. Laurel and Hardy is one, and Martin and Lewis is the other. But that's about it. Can you think of any others?
I mean, not really duos, I guess. I mean, there's the balcony Muppets, but they don't really count.
Waldorf and Stedtler.
The Marx Brothers, but they weren't really a duo.
They weren't a duo. They were a group, as were the Stooges, also a group. So, as far as
But
duo,
yeah, as far as duos, I think you
comic and
probably
straight
nailed it. I think you nailed the best 2.
Yeah.
I guess did you mention Burns and Allen?
I did not. That went right above my head. Burns and Allen is definitely there too.
The only
we should do that.
reason it popped into my head is because of the thing I usually
Good
play.
night, Gracie. Say good night, Gracie.
I was like, wait a minute, I don't think I heard that one, but same thing. Although I guess he was the straight man and she was the ditzy blonde or whatever. But yeah, still a great duo though. So anyway,
yeah, there was always the comic and the straight man. So
yeah,
and
the real and only true TV god, other than in the other movies. So Morgan Freeman can suck it. Just saying.
Okay. So yeah. Anyway, I guess
So,
so yeah,
so
we're talking about well, some people call it the silent devil. Some people call it the nagging, the darker half or whatever. But basically, everybody has some kind of issue with anxiety.
I call it the
Some
ex-wife. Oh wait, shit. Never mind.
some some people do struggle with crippling anxiety. Other people tend to just have a little bit. It varies by degree on how it affects people. It has been my observation that younger generations tend not to be able to handle anxiety as well as Gen X and beforehand. So, and I'll give millennials credit too because they can handle anxiety a lot better than Gen Z, Gen Alpha. What we've got going on. So, but they're like the very last ones, and it's older millennials tend to do it better than younger millennials. So there's been this kind of shift to where anxiety has really spiked in recent years, and a lot of people are now showing concerns with SSRIs and other forms of medication to control anxiety, to control depression, to control um, manic disorders. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is how people actually try to manage or step back from their anxiety by doing things that will help them control that situation, or at least, put it to where it's manageable. Let it stop rising and bubbling over, that kind of thing. I had a I had a really rough time with anxiety, being having been a military wife, having had my husband serve in combat zones, having my brother-in-law serve in combat zones, having another brother-in-law serve in the Pacific Theater, having just for me, I was in a constant state of high anxiety, and I had to learn to deal with it because I had children at home. I could not give in. So, um, and I hate to say it, but even though we do have behavioral medicine in the military and they encourage everyone to take advantage of that, there was a stigma attached to it when I was when we were still active duty. And as such, it would reflect on our spouse if, we went to get help for depression or anxiety. They would question what he or she was doing at home that would set their spouse to need this kind of help. It would show up on his chart, it would show up on his paperwork. So we tended to try, we tried not to get that help, even though it was available. And things have improved vastly since then. I'm not saying it's still like that. As a matter of fact, it's definitely completely different. And I think that is a result from the global war on terror, with the spike in PTSD, um, and other issues in the home. So things have improved a lot with behavioral medicine in the military, but I've been gone. I was no longer able to get that kind of help. So I had a friend who was a therapist, and she would help me by telling me some tips and tricks that I could do on my own without the need of medical assistance of the pharmaceutical kind. And so that's what I wanted to talk about tonight, because I do think it's kind of important. I see a lot of people stressed out over politics. I see them stressed out over the culture wars. I see them stressed out over um, uh, global things that are happening, religious things that are happening. So it's kind of important to actually start going out there and teaching, or at least helping others find ways that they can manage their anxiety without the aid of anyone else. You do need to get this under your own control. And that is the biggest step that you can take, is when you start controlling how you manage your anxiety, you start feeling like you're achieving something, like you're not depending on anything but yourself. And it actually helps you grow. So that's what we're talking about tonight. It's not the funnest thing, but I've
You
done
know,
I've done some fun stuff to manage my anxiety.
well, I mean, we could, there were older fun things they used to do to manage anxiety. I mean, we won't even talk about the real reason why certain pleasuring devices were invented. Just saying. So it's not like this is anything new. I will say this though, as far as and I don't know about from a female perspective, but from a male perspective, growing up in Generation X, we didn't even know what anxiety was. The second we started really showing anything that seemed like some sort of weakness, our dads usually beat it out of us. So I didn't really figure out what anxiety was until much, much later in life when people really started talking about it. And it took me a long time to even figure out what it was. And as a matter of fact, I'm not even with everything I've been through, I'm not even really sure I started having anxiety until around the time that my second marriage started falling apart. And this was before I even consciously knew anything was happening. And this is before COVID or anything else. I would just randomly start having panic attacks. It was almost like my nervous system was picking up on something that the rest of me wasn't. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I will say it is but dude, I used to chase bad people and dodge bullets for a living. Panic attacks fucking suck. It's like this crippling thing that just makes no sense when it happens. And I still get them every once in a while. And then I've had to learn how to do this whole box breathing thing and all these other little things to help me, center myself well enough where I can function. And then sometimes I'll just get up and pace around till I want to fall over because I don't know what else to do. But yeah, and again, with my background and everything that I used to do for a living, it's funny to talk about, but I had less stress kicking indoors than I get from a panic attack, which is insane when you think about it. It really is. Zelda made a joke earlier about, because I made a joke about something and she's like, your mom. And I'm like, yeah, she's crazy. She's like, yeah, is that where you get it? Yeah, probably half of it. But yeah, I mean, honestly, that makes you feel crazy when you realize you used to do really dangerous shit for a living and were barely phased by it, but you get crippled by a panic attack to the point where you're just like, I don't even know what to do. It's just weird to think about, especially for somebody who never really used to have anxiety. So, but yeah, I mean, so I have learned quite a few ways of my own to deal with it. One of them is constantly having some form of background noise on, like you'll hear a fan right now. That's because I knew we were going to be talking about this and I knew it would probably start a panic attack. White noise helps with that. So keep that in mind.
No, you're absolutely right. White noise. This is why white noise machines are so popular. They do help. That noise in the background actually helps to destimulate your brain. It suits the brain waves down. So yeah, that's a great idea. And they have like brown noise machine, green noise, pink noise, white noise, black noise, and I'm like, okay, I gotta figure that out because I didn't know noise came in colors unless you were high.
I was going to say, I only ever smelled colors when I was high. Oh, wait. Never mind. But no, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's like, I guess the green one's supposed to be more relaxing or something. I was supposed to help you with sleep cycles or something. I don't know. I haven't really delved that far into that stuff because, yeah. I will say I have been playing around with frequencies a lot more because there are different frequencies that can help or hurt your nervous system. Interesting side note, most of the music we listen to now is actually at a frequency to help heighten anxiety. I wonder why they do that.
Things that make you go,
Yeah, I found that out when I started researching because I really was, like I said, I used to have literally nerves of steel, would jump at nothing. I mean, not when I was a kid, but my dad scared that out of me because anytime he ever scared me and I jumped, it was like 2 for flinching and he didn't pull his punches. Same with, and I told you this story earlier. My great granddad always, and oddly enough, became the namesake for my son unknowingly, because I'd never called him anything other than great grandpa Palmer. I found a funeral thing for him a few years ago, and I realized his name was John Allen Palmer. Well, I came up with John Allen because we wanted to make sure that, because this John, this was around the time that we knew Cheryl's dad wasn't going to be around much longer, so I wanted him to carry some of that. So that was James's middle name was Allen, and then I was like the name John, so we went with John Allen. And I found that program. I was like, holy crap! I accidentally named my kid after somebody that used to beat the crap out of me every time I walked past his chair. But yeah, he did. Up until the day he died, they had this little shotgun house, and then basically his chair was on one side of the entryway to the kitchen, hers was on the other, and I had to walk past it anytime I wanted to go into the backyard, and I was only allowed to play in the backyard. I couldn't play in the front yard. Never mind the fact that I usually snuck around and played in the front yard after I went out the back door, but I wasn't allowed to go out the front door. I had to go out the back door, and every time I walked past him, smack. And I'd be like, what was that for? You're soft. You got to toughen up, you little bastard. And then first time I went and whined to my mom that he hit me again when I came back through. He's like, don't you ever fucking rat me out again, kid. I was like, why do you hate me? Yeah, you want to, and see, this is why I'm saying I should have had anxiety much earlier than I did. For some reason I did not. But now that I do, it's disconcerting because, like I said, I used to chase bad guys for a living, and like the first time I had a really crippling panic attack was when I was still working for OU, and I'm sitting there, and I wasn't even on a call. I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden, this cubicle that, mind you, is like 4 or 5 times the size of ones that I used to be used to. The cubicle that I was in here was the size of the ops manager cubicles at Convergys, which for us was like real. It was like, oh my God, that's like having your own office. And I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden, this thing feels smaller than the cubicles I used to sit in when I was on the floor at Convergys. And I'm just freaking out. My boss walks by, and she's like, what's the matter with you? I was like, I have no idea, but I got to get off. I got to get out of here for a second. So she's like, go ahead and take your break early. It's fine. But yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's what and then, I finally got it all beat back for the most part. And then the divorce happened. And then I spent about off and on for the last 6 years having random anxiety attacks. So I started trying to figure out ways to deal with it. This one's not going to make a lot of people happy, especially if you're like me and don't really like cleaning. But believe it or not, even if you have to start with just one tiny thing, just cleaning it up and organizing it, it is actually enough to start resetting your nervous system, because anxiety thrives on chaos. And I think that might be another reason why having panic attacks bothers me as much as it does, because I used to thrive on chaos and now I don't.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Chaos was my jam, man. Like the worst things were, that's where I lived. And now if I get that way, it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because deep cleaning is one of my go-tos. Like if I feel a downturn coming, it's like I pick a part of the house and I will completely gut it out. I will remove everything from it, and I will clean everything, clean all of the items that belong on it, and then put everything back, reorganized, nicely neat. Sometimes I will hand make labels again. Just, and I remember this, I want to say it was 2016. I had the worst downturn that I had since, having children. It was bad. It lasted about 6 weeks, and I ended up losing about 12 pounds. And it happened like the week after my birthday. And it had nothing to do with turning 50, because I totally enjoyed my birthday that year. It was epic. I loved it. I cannot wait to do it again this year for number 60, right? But I'm not sure what triggered it. Something happened, and before I could catch myself, I didn't have any time. My daughter needed some stuff for school. My son needed stuff for for college or something. My sister up the street was undergoing treatment for cancerous lesions. My sister-in-law had been diagnosed with cancer. It was just a bunch of things that happened, and I did not have any time for myself. So it took me a long time. And after that happened, after I started coming back, I said, I cannot let this go again. And I remember feeling starting to slip about 5 months after that. And I told myself, you know what? I'm going to reorganize my utility room. That's where we keep all of, that's where the laundry is. That's where all of his fishing tackle stuff is, all of the cleaning supplies, random crap, everything. I ended up going to the store, buying some racks to actually start organizing all of my Longaberger baskets, which held everything. And I started labeling everything. It took me all day, but I can honestly tell you by the end of that day, I had kicked anxiety's ass. I was in a great mood. I was happy. I felt great. It was awesome. And so, yeah, I totally get it. You're right. It forces you to really organize your brain. So it pushes the anxiety away because you're right. Anxiety is chaos. That does trigger it. So totally. Deep cleaning. Awesome.
Sorry, I was laughing at something else. I just saw a post that Zelda shared, and it's a cat sitting on a scale, and the cat just says fat. I feel seen. I feel seen. But no, I mean seriously, and like I said, it was something that I had to start dealing with, and this was months before I ever, I guess, consciously knew anything was wrong with my marriage. And I think that part was what was driving me the most crazy in the beginning, was trying to figure out why after all these years suddenly, and I'd had panic attacks. But and some of it was my fault because, and I don't know if I've told this to anybody before, at least not directly, but mental illness runs in my family. So it has always been something that I've been worried about, because I didn't know this until after my paternal grandfather died when I was 8 years old. But every time we went to visit him in what I was told was the old folks home, it wasn't an old folks home. I just never really paid attention to what the sign said because I didn't care. I was there to see grandpa. But yeah, I was a sanitarium. And turns out that I think at one point it got a hold of my brother. I know for a fact that it has a hold of my mom now, whatever got him. So it's always been, when I started freaking out, I was like, oh crap, am I next? And that made it even worse, dude, because I'm like freaking out because I'm like, oh my God, is this just normal anxiety, or am I really about to go nuts and have to get fitted for a straitjacket and all these other things? And yeah, so for me, that made it even worse. There is such a thing as too much information. Because yeah, back to that probably should have had anxiety a lot sooner than I did thing. My parents were completely upfront with the fact that they got pregnant with me on purpose so they could get married. And then I watched them be terrible to each other up until I was 9. So yeah, talk about
That's
being
tragic.
like, well, yeah, this wouldn't happen if I wasn't here, huh? Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, that whole anxiety thing, I don't know. Maybe I did have it more when I was a kid, just didn't know how to classify it. But I know maybe that's why I started doing all kinds of crazy shit and became an adrenaline junkie. Because M does make a great point. Adrenaline blocks a lot, so maybe that's why I was always doing crazy, dangerous stuff. It gave me time not to think about it. And then I took a job that gave me nothing but time to think.
No, you remember arsenic and old lace. In my family, insanity doesn't run in my family. It practically gallops. Yeah. My family. I knew from a very young age that several of my family members did live in a sanatorium. And 2 of them never left. It was that bad. So I totally get it. I totally get it.
Oh, so speaking of another anxiety tool, believe it or not, is comedy. If you're completely just flipping out and don't know why, and you can find a space to sit down for a few seconds, even if it's just a funny reel, don't doom scroll or anything. Find a reel that usually makes you laugh and watch it a few times. Then if you can get through that, turn on maybe a funny show for a little bit, because it'll give time for your nervous system to reset. The reason I bring this up is because of all this stuff that's going on with the Odyssey film. Somebody just put out an AI of Rocky 4, but instead of Sylvester Stallone, it's Elliot Page, and now I'm dying.
That has been such a wreck.
Uh,
Such a wreck. I just, it. I'm like, I'm not even. I'm not even. No, I'm not watching it. Forget it.
I mean, they should just rename it My Big Fat Greekless Odyssey. Ain't not a single person in there Greek. Isn't this the same thing all the other people out there want to fit for? You're stealing my culture. Yeah, they just hijacked the entire Greek culture and didn't put a single Greek person in there. Just a side note.
Or at least, Mediterranean.
Yeah,
But
something.
anyway.
Something, but yeah.
So, one of the things that, and Janelle brought this up in one of the things that she wrote, how she herbs to curb her anxiety and stem back, downturns and such, was needlework. I used to be a prolific cross stitcher back in college. I mean, we had a little cross stitching bee in my dorm. There were like 8 of us, and we would get together in my room. For some reason, everybody congregated in my room, and we would bring all our cross stitching.
She
And
can't imagine why you and your bubbliness.
no, I was not. I'm not. I'm seriously. I was extremely shy, but for some reason we would always congregate in my room, and um,
Well,
we would pull in
there's the other reason. They knew if they didn't go to your room, you'd never show up anywhere else.
probably. Probably, yeah, that's true. But we would all get together and we would sit in there were 2 beds to each dorm, so there were like 4 of us, 2 in each bed, and then somebody was at one of the desks and the other person was at the other desk, so there'd be about 6 to 8 people, and we had bean bags and so we would all be sitting there, we'd be cross stitching and everything. And when I say I was a prolific cross stitcher, my cross stitch work was so detailed and everything that from it would look like a painting, because there were so many details and so many different colors, and you were using 2 strands in different colors for each cross stitch to provide seriously, I was like really into it. And then like around year 2000, I kind of like just stopped. I had kids. I was involved with the schools. I was involved with taking care of my sister's kids as well, because she was working and I was a stay-at-home mom. I was doing all, and so I just stopped and I put everything away. And the other about I want to say about 2 years ago, um, my cross stitching. I had all of my cross stitching in this little like a magazine holder. I had all my magazines in there, and it fell over. And inside one of them was a cross stitch that I had started for my late brother-in-law, and I never got it finished. And it broke my heart. And I said, I need to finish this so I can give it to my mother-in-law. It was my husband's older brother passed away. And so I did that. And she was very, very touched that I finished that. And then I found another one that I had started and I finished that and gave it away. And then I found another one that I had started and I finished that one and gave it away. And then I just said, you know what? I'm just going to get back into this. And because I noticed that the more I did, the less stress I had, the less anxiety was there was less anxiety building up. And it was something that I ended up having to put on hiatus as well. When I was with my dad in his last days, I would stay with him almost every day at the hospital until visitation hours were over. And I would take some cross stitching, and he was always very interested. And actually, the last thing that I made before then was hanging in his room because he really liked it. And it was actually embroidery that I had made, flowers I had made the previous year. And I was cross stitching and he was very interested, and I would show him the progress and everything. And eventually, he was intubated and he could not see anymore. He was sedated, and I could not pick that piece up until about a month ago. And once I started picking it back up and finishing it, it was like this, like the anxiety from what happened with my dad went away. And I didn't know that I still had it in me. I had not put it away. I had not placed it in a place where I can feel comfortable about revisiting my grief, which some people take a while to grieve, and some people take a long time to get to grieving. And unfortunately, I'm still in that space. But at least I have done that, and it has helped me. And I will tell you now, Mother's Day, I was cross stitching like a demon. I I I worked on a big piece that I want to complete for myself, and I was making a little bookmark because I don't have enough bookmarks. That is, it drives me crazy. I don't have enough bookmarks. So that's one of the things that I do is cross stitch, embroidery, crewel work, needlepoint. I will find random stuff that has holes or whatever. I will darn socks. Anything that has to do with stabbing anything, fantastic. And I highly recommend for anybody that has never tried cross stitching, go to Hobby Lobby, buy one of those tiny little, starter kits and try it. And I will guarantee you, you will feel not just the accomplishment, but the satisfaction of stabbing something several hundred times. It's awesome. Highly recommend.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw somebody put out a cross stitching video, and it says when your neighbor the witch learns to cross stitch, and it's like stab it, and then pull its guts through, just twist it around, strangle it. So I send it to Laura, and I'm like, "Hey, is this you?" She says, "No, but it sounds like I need to learn to cross stitch." So yeah. Anyway, I thought it was funny. I don't know.
So what else do you like to do?
I mean, for me, mostly it's just usually, if I get too bad with anxiety, another weird coping mechanism that I never really realized was a coping mechanism is apparently watching shows that you've already seen a million times and you know the endings to, because if you're dealing with anxiety, not knowing what comes next can be a trigger. I discovered this during my whole divorce thing. Because I got to the point where I was just watching nothing but old TV shows for the longest time. And then I found a couple of comedies I tried to watch, and then they had the sappy parts of the comedies, and that made it worse. Yeah, anyway. That's still a thing. I had to admit that to my son last night, because he was like, "Well, you could have just come to the house since you guys got here so early." And I'm like, "Well, last I heard your mom was staying there for the week." And he's like, "Oh, hell no. She meant she rented a cabin over by the lake." It's like, he ain't staying here. Like, well, I didn't know that. And I said, I'll be honest, 6 years later and it still stings. And he's like, yeah, I get it. And then we got into a whole other discussion because apparently it runs in the family because my former mother-in-law now has a new boyfriend.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm like, it's genetic, isn't it? He's like, I'm starting to wonder.
Oh, my.
So, yeah, that was fun. But, yeah. So old TV shows, like I said, usually just some kind of background noise. Something new that I've discovered is kind of cathartic for me, and I didn't really discover it until the whole Japan Bro thing started. Speaking of which, I want to say hello to our Japanese listeners because apparently we now have quite a few. I guess because we talk about this every so often. I noticed it when I was looking at the numbers today. I was like, we have an audience in Japan now. That's kind of cool. But yeah,
arigato.
Mr. Roboto. Had to be done. But no, I have discovered. I'd watched a little bit of anime as a kid, the importations, Battleship Yamato became Star Blazers. What I watched is G-Forces actually had 2 or 3 different names, and the G-Force one was apparently released in the 80s. But I found a lot of other anime stuff that I never really got into before that I actually really like, and it's what I usually turn on now when I'm done with everything and I don't have any more new stuff to focus on, or I've gotten all my work done for the day and I'm just trying to go to bed. I'll turn on a random anime thanks to Crunchyroll, and that seems to help with my anxiety too.
I would imagine, yeah, that it would help. I mean, music, you know, it soothes the savage beast, so music is a healthy go-to, but it can't be. I mean, I don't recommend screamo unless you're really into it and it makes you feel good. Um, I'm a big fan of Metallica and Megadeth, but if I'm feeling anxiety, that is not what I turn to listen. I usually turn to something more instrumental, like Mike Oldfield, or any classical kind of music. So, and big band usually does the trick. It does cheer me up. So you got to be choosy with the music. But yeah, I do recommend music as an outlet to help your anxiety levels drop, because music is orderly. There is a certain order. There's the beat, time kept, all of that. There is an order to it, and that does help with your anxiety. But yeah, TV
Well, yeah,
all the time.
yeah. Well,
Perry, Perry and I are good friends. Perry Mason.
I think it might have something to do with maybe different the ways different genders tackle things. Now that there's like a million of them. Because for me, like if I'm especially if I'm like having an anxiety day, if I can turn on like some sort of really loud music that I know all the words to, I'm usually better by the time I finish belting it out. And yes, Stephen, you're right. Unless it's a migraine. I tried that with migraines, it doesn't work. But a regular headache, I can turn on heavy metal, and in 5 minutes my headache's gone. And everybody looks at me like I'm nuts, and they're like, "You didn't you say you had a headache a minute ago? And you're listening to that? Yeah, it's better now." Perry Como. Nope. Love you, M, but nope.
I don't know. Perry Como's kind of cool.
I mean, maybe if you got somebody to listen to him with. I don't, so no.
Yeah, that is an issue. Sometimes anxiety, sometimes those downturns. If you are somebody who doesn't have a special someone in their life, it can be rough. It can be really rough. And yes, I've been in that same position. Rick, you have too. So music, I would pick different. Yes, I would have to say you're right.
Yeah, I can't. For the longest time, I really couldn't listen to. I mean, and the sad thing is, you heard the first cover that I put out in forever. That's the kind of music I used to listen to all the time, and for the longest time, I couldn't really do it anymore because it was like, no, I'm all sad again. I don't like it. Stupid. Anyway, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, the weirdest thing for me, and I think what caused the most anxiety for me with everything that I went through with this was realizing that for me, it was almost like the death of my spouse, because she's still there, but I don't recognize her anymore when I'm around her. Her mannerisms are different. She doesn't talk the same. She doesn't wear the same clothes. It's like I was telling somebody else. I think that's what had me the most upset for the longest time, because I realized she was a chameleon. She was being what I needed her to be for me to be happy and for me to want her. And when she decided she didn't need me anymore, she latched onto somebody else, and now she does all the things that he likes. And I'm looking at her going, who the hell are you?
Yeah, that's never. Yeah. Anyway, so moving on. I guess. Any other tips for you, or?
Hang on. I think I had a couple more. So there is one, and this is for the folks that deal with it a lot. One of the things that I started doing was, saying that I was going to give myself permission to feel the anxiety, but I usually set a specific time when I was allowed to do it, and the amount of time that I would allow myself to do it. And then what eventually happened after I did that a few times is I would set what I called the panic appointment later, And later in the day, and usually by the time the panic appointment rolled around, it had already gone away anyway. So that was one that actually worked for me pretty well.
I think that is also something that's very important, and a lot of people don't take the time to understand, because a lot of the time you're told, you don't have time for this, you don't have time for the depression, you don't have time, you need to suck it up, you need to do something else, blah blah blah. And sometimes you actually do need to make time for it so that you can be in a better shape to handle it. I'm a crier. I will cry over anything. Today, this hit hard. I don't know if anybody remembers All Dogs Go to Heaven, that really
Oh, yeah.
cute movie. Don Bluth, I think, directed it. And the voices, Burt Reynolds was the voice of the main dog. I don't think anybody is aware, but the little girl that voiced the girl in the movie was brutally killed by her father before the movie was out. And she had already done all her lines. But when Burt Reynolds found out that she had been murdered by her father, he still had some lines to do. And the lines were the very last lines in the film when he's telling her that he's leaving, and that he loves her and all that stuff. And that, she's asking, will I see you again? And he says, yes, you'll see me again and everything. And he's leaving to go to heaven. He's going to heaven. All dogs go to heaven. That was like the big tell
Yep.
in the title. So, but it really, I did not know that Burt Reynolds took 63 takes because he kept breaking down. And as I was reading about that, my tears were flowing. I was crying. My husband comes in. What's wrong? I tell him what happened. He looks at me and says, "Oh, you need to just stop." He didn't know how to handle it. He never knows how to handle it when I cry, So, but I was in, and I wasn't that. At that point, I did recognize that I was starting to slip into a downturn, and I was like, "Yeah, this is not happening. This is not going to work for me." But I had cried, and it did provide a release valve of sorts. So, giving yourself permission to do that will actually help you handle your anxiety, your downturn, your depression a lot better, rather than just stamping on it until you can put it away. Giving yourself permission to feel it, that's also important, and it does go a long ways to actually helping you figure out the best way to handle it once you have cleared the stress out of your system in that manner. But for me, crying, I'm good with that. I'm good with crying. My sister, she doesn't cry. She actually screams, and she will go outside into her car and sit in the car and just scream. She'll take something to drink with her so that to soothe her throat as she's screaming. She's not stupid. But for her, that's her release valve. And then she'll get out of the car, and then her husband will ask her, "You doing okay?" And she'll be like, "Yeah, got it out of my system. I think I can handle it now." And then she'll go on to do whatever it is that she does to stave off her anxiety and stave off the depression and things of that nature. So it just depends on what your coping mechanisms are. Give yourself permission. Definitely give yourself permission to do that. It'll make you feel a lot better, and it'll help you focus on how to better handle the anxiety.
Yeah, so I've got two more kind of little ones, and I don't know if you've heard of this one, but have you ever heard of the grounding game?
I have not.
So yeah, there's it's called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding game. So if you feel yourself starting to slip into a panic or some form of anxiety, just look around and name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste, because it tends to pull your brain out of the imaginary disaster movie that you're screening and back into the room kind of pulls you back into reality. Kind of in the same vein, because a lot of times, and I figured this out later, um, and it's one of the things that eventually helped me. I noticed a lot of times if I was having an anxiety attack or a panic attack, it's because all of my attention was being turned inwards and I was focusing on things instead of focusing on outward things, kind of focusing, rerunning moments in my head, those kind of things. So help somebody else for 5 minutes. If you know somebody else is struggling, then maybe pick up your phone and text them something encouraging. If you feel it happening and you're out in public, hold the door for somebody. Send somebody a funny meme. Take a second to pray for somebody. Check on a friend. Because again, a lot of times, if you pay attention, you'll notice when you're feeling the most anxiety, it's because your attention's being turned inwards. Small acts of service actually turn the lights back outward, and it helps you pull things away from yourself again. But that's really the last two that I have.
That's, that actually echoes one of mine. And this is something that started because of the COVID shutdown. I started painting rocks for a little rock group, and so that kids would find them in parks and everything. And it was accidental, but doing something like that for someone else, for kids who couldn't go to school or, were, stuck at home or whatever, and putting them out there and then just waiting for them to find it and see their faces, that was amazing. That for me was like the biggest, um I don't know, feel good shot. I don't know how to describe it. But that also helped. And so I I still do it. I do it here in town. I do it in Tyler. When I go to Tyler, I'll take a few rocks and leave them in places, and they'll, people post them. Somebody posted in my old group that they had found a rock in Kansas that was mine, and I was like, holy crap! It traveled that far. And there is a lady that is now retired, and she travels in cruises, and she goes places and all that stuff, and she leaves all these rocks everywhere. And somebody in Germany posted that picture in the groups, and they said, sorry, I don't speak English, but I found this, and this is the group. And it was automatically translated, but it was so cool. It makes you feel good when you cheer somebody up. It makes you feel good when you do something for them. Yes, it does make you feel good. And that act of giving, the act of um, being there for somebody else, puts the focus on them and takes it away from the the angry anxiety that's boiling inside of you, and it makes the anger just quell. I don't know how else to describe it. I have a I don't know if y'all read my last post. I haven't written in a while on on my blog, but I call it the titanium room rule. The golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And for me, the titanium room is do unto others. End of discussion. You don't even wait for them to do anything nice for you. And for me, it has been very liberating to be able to do something for someone without any expectation whatsoever. And that leads me to one of my good stress relievers and my good this helps me so much with my anxiety. I cannot stress it enough. And most people will not do it. Most people are like, yeah, I can't do that. It's just blah blah blah. I love writing. I like writing stories. I like writing. Well, I should write more often in my blog, but it's a thing. I do mostly tweeting now, whatever. But I write letters, longhand, cursive, snail mail. I do that because it's not enough for me to sit down at the computer and write an email and send it off. To me, an email has always been so impersonal, and I've never liked it. It was a necessity when my husband was downrange. because writing a letter to Combat Zone is almost impossible, even at this day and age. But they had the ability to, you know, send emails, and so we could stay in touch with that and everything. And yeah, I would print them out because I wanted to have them in my hand and read them. And it wasn't ever anything, weird. I mean, he would tell me, like, oh, got to see so and so today, and blah blah. And he would never give me the details of what was going on. Obviously, he couldn't. But the day to day stuff, was always comforting. And so I've decided the past few years to actually start writing letters again. And it has proven to be so calming and so nice to just do something so as old fashioned as writing a letter. And yeah, sometimes it's just chatting about the weather and chatting about, oh, I bought a new pair of shoes, or my car is having trouble and I'm not looking forward to having it fixed because that's going to be a huge dent in my savings, that kind of stuff. Or a new recipe, or it doesn't matter what I will just write about anything. And nobody is under any obligation to write in return. But I've had the good grace to have a couple actually return letters to me, and I will answer the letters right back. And it'll take them some time. Obviously, they're not like prolific writers like I am, but they in turn, they're like, this is kind of cool. Writing a letter is kind of neat. It's old fashioned, but it forces you to actually direct your attention to excuse me, to working on a full sentence. No shortcuts. No, you have to write out the word your, not the letters you are. Okay. You have to actually form a complete sentence. There are no emoticons that you can use. There's punctuation to use, that kind of stuff. And a lot of people are like, it's kind of cool to do this, and I've had a lot of people compliment me on my handwriting, which is kind of funny. But I will get messages from people saying, hey, I got your letter. Thank you so much for thinking of me. It made me feel really great. And I'll be like, you're more than welcome. Anytime you feel like you want to receive a letter from me, hit me up in DM and tell me, hey, would you mind? I would love to get a letter from you, or a card or something like that. And I have moved, my whole rock thing over to X as well. And I send rocks periodically. Um, I've I'm now I had to cut back on the rock painting because I need to find a rock supplier. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I kind of do.
Hey man, gotta need those rocks. I need some rocks.
But it's just the very act of actually sitting down and beginning. You say, dear, you know, whoever, and you begin. I hope this finds you well. Things here have been a little hectic, and you explain, how things are going and whatever, that kind of stuff. And it just it makes it you find things begin to flow a little faster and everything. And it doesn't have to be cursive. You can print the letter. You can actually, one of my friends typed it up on their computer and then printed it out and then mailed it to me, because they told me their handwriting is atrocious. And I was like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It's the fact that you took time out to respond to the letter means a lot, because I don't expect it. I expect to give. I don't expect to be given to, because that's not part of my equation. And it does help with my anxiety. Sending out a letter, I cannot stress to you guys enough how soothing it is to sit down and just write. Zelda probably knows this because she is a poetess and she has written poems, and she will sit down and write these things. And for her, I'm sure that that helps her with her anxiety levels. And for me, it's kind of the same thing when I sit down and I start writing. And like I said, it's nonsensical stuff. I don't, it's not a trilogy. I'm not writing a soap opera. I'm not, this is not the sequel to Lord of the Rings. Nothing like that. It's just a couple of pages of writing, wishing somebody is doing well, hoping that, that the rest of the week goes well for them, and then just saying warmly or best wishes or lovingly or whatever, and then signing your name. And the recipient will always be grateful. Sometimes they will actually reach out to you and it's really great. Sometimes they may not get around to reading that letter, but it's not about them reading the letter. It's about you writing the letter because it forces you to put your thoughts, your feelings onto a piece of paper. And that actually fights the anxiety. It fights the depression. It actually stamps it back. I don't know how to describe it. I cannot explain it well enough, but it does work. And I don't know how much a postage stamp is now, but you know, you can go to the post office and get a forever stamp. I don't know. I think it's like 60 cents or something. I don't know. I don't remember. Probably more.
Yeah, I don't buy stamps anymore. So
I do because, again, due to my prolific rock sending thing, I have a fantastic set of people to give Christmas cards to. So I buy stamps to send Christmas cards every year. So whatever's left over, I use that for letter writing, and it works.
all right, so forever stamps are currently 78 cents. So is
Oh
a
my
regular.
word,
So is a
78
regular.
cents.
So is a regular USPS first class forever stamp 78 cents right now.
That is highway robbery.
Hey, I'm just glad you remember Quantum Leap and
Yeah.
and he's like, and I gotta go buy a stamp and it's $100. Yeah, I'm just glad we never got there. So,
Well, it's really funny because it's 78 cents now, but back in 2003, when I was in Germany, it was 67 euro cent to send a first class postage in town where I lived in Germany. So imagine how bad it is over there now. Because
well,
yes, Deutsche
it,
Post is state run, just like you know, our post
you're
office.
you're probably about to be even sadder than this may actually even spark some anxiety. If approved on July 12th, 2026, the price of a forever stamp will go up to 82 cents.
When?
July 12th, 2026.
No.
So, yes. Because, nothing says our post office is efficient by continuing to charge us way too much to do shit. Anyway. I kind of feel like the post office should kind of fall into the same thing as the Treasury, though. I know it's supposed to be us, but I don't really feel like it's government run, at least not properly, anyway.
No, you're right.
Hey, what do I know? Oh,
Well, and I don't know about you, but I do have one last one,
sure.
and then we can wrap up early if you want. Um, One of the things that I do, and I'm sure that everybody does something similar, exercise is really good. But for me, my type of exercise, I have to have I can't I can't be in one place. The best thing for me is a purposeful walk. And I say purposeful as opposed to a power walk or a leisurely one. A leisurely one is not going to cut it for me. Although being outside does help. When I start walking, I walk like I need to get somewhere. And so it's, you know, purposeful. I have to get to this place. So, for example, my mailbox is a full half mile from my house. So I put on my sneakers and I go walking, but I don't take my time. I need to get there to pick up the mail and get back. So that is a purposeful walk and it works. It helps me because as I'm walking, my thought process is concentrating on getting there. It so my focus is now on getting to point B from point A, and that helps with my anxiety. It actually makes my anxiety kind of shrink a little bit. The more I walk, the less anxious I become. And this was something that I started doing um, also during COVID because, you know, trying to keep the kids active and focused on other things rather than being closed up at home and having the doom scrolling going on. And I will say this: if you suffer from anxiety, doom scrolling is the last thing you need to be doing. You need to step away from social media completely and just not do it for a while. Because doom scrolling is just it's the chaos. And it just makes the anxiety bloom like, flowers after rain. So don't do that. But going out and walking with purpose helps me actually balance the anxiety. And had it not been for that, I think I would have, you know, that downturn that I suffered in 2016 would have been extended for months. I started walking about 5 weeks in, and it wasn't, and that helped with alleviating that downturn a lot. So I do recommend find a form of exercise that forces you to actually focus on something. For some people, weightlifting, because you're actually counting, you're using something, your hands are busy holding, the weights or whatever. For other people, um, you know, any kind of cardio, Pilates, yoga. A lot of people love yoga for that reason because yoga does tend to relax you a lot. So find something that works for you. For me, just that, just walking. And one time I was so stressed out, I went for a walk and ended up at my church. And my church was 5 miles. It's 5 miles from my house, the old one before I moved up here.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there going, how did I get here? I was so intent on walking that I did not notice that I had walked all the way to my church. So uh, try not to do that because there's traffic around too. But those are some of the things that I do for to alleviate um, not just my stress, but to also help me manage anxiety and help manage any kind of incoming downturn that I may be feeling. I alarmed you today when I talked about that. And yeah, I had been feeling a downturn about for the past week. So I started doing my stuff again. And I have managed to actually put it in to a place where I can manage it again. And I'm not saying this is going to cure anything. Um, it does help you handle it better. And like I said, a lot of people have issues right now with SSRIs. They're starting to question whether having antidepressants is a good thing. They're starting to question whether they should be on any kind of medication for certain, for anxiety or depression, things of that nature. Um, just remember that sometimes it is grave enough that you do need that medication. I'm not advocating for you to be medication free, but learn also to understand that you can have power over it as well. And it can work in tandem with your medication. It's not one or the other. And it can help your medication work even better when you do these little things for yourself.
Very, very true. All right, so I have to say this as we get ready to wrap up, just because I thought it was funny. Your former co-host, who I was supposed to be filling in for a couple of weeks, no, not salty about that at all. Just kidding. But yeah, so he put a post earlier because he came up with this. I don't know if he got it from somebody else or what, but he put out a post earlier that he said, "I asked Grok who should play me if they ever did a biopic about me." And so just for fun, I asked Grok the same question and ChatGPT the same question just to see if the answers were anything close. They both came up with the same number one answer, John Goodman. So I'll take that. Their number two was actually the same too, I think. Let's see. Grok's was for number 2, Nick Offerman. I think ChatGPT had him in there somewhere. Yeah, Nick Offerman was GPT's second too. Now on Grok went dark for the third. ChatGPT chose Kevin James as my third. So Grok went dark for the third and was Bill Burr. So
wow, okay.
But yeah, I just thought it was interesting because Grok can actually review your entire X profile and get a feel for you. ChatGPT can't do that. But we talk back and forth all the time for work. I just thought it was interesting that they both came up with the same number 1 and number 2 answers.
That's interesting. You know how I feel about
yeah, I know.
Okay. All
but
right,
I'm nice to the AI, so when it takes over, it won't stab me.
No, not me. But anyway.
Yeah, I even say please and thank you to my AI because I know eventually it will be my overlord master, and I don't want it to stab me in my sleep. I've seen the
I
movie.
don't need my anxiety to start spiking up again. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyway, well, we're going to wrap up early. I know that the Curse of Stephanaros is coming up next at 9 o'clock. So for all of you gamers out there, D&D folk, stay tuned for that. And Rick, where can we find you?
Don't look for me. It's a trap. You can find. Yes, it is. You can find me.
I said what I said.
Woman. You can find me tomorrow night on Juxtaposition, 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do a deep dive on the Alien Files that just dropped. And then Sunday night, I will be off because Wednesday night is Kingdom and Country Bible Study Edition. I kind of owe you guys a makeup, but I don't really want to do 2 in a row. Monday night, America Off the Rails, 10 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday night, Men Explain Poorly, 10 p.m. Eastern. Monday day, Wednesday day, Friday day, noon Eastern, Rick Robinson Show. Wednesday night, full lineup. Thursday, hopefully back with Jen and Rick. Neither of us were available last night. And then Friday night, back around here doing this thing with you. Other than that, you can find me on X at RowdyRick73. You can find the network at KAlarm Radio on Facebook and YouTube as well as X. You can find it on Rumble as America's Podcast Network. And you can find me as a contributor on Twitchy.com, MisfitsPolitics.com, TheLoftusParty.com, and I also produce the Loftus Party Podcast, which drops on Tuesday. Hey, I actually got a compliment from M. I may frame that because he's hard on me.
Yes, he is. He's
like, I'm only here for her. You shush.
All right. I didn't say hi to Al. Hi, Al. I didn't get.
Well, Al kind of snuck in.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
He wasn't there until like a minute ago. I was like, wait a minute, when did that start showing up? But yeah, it was about 20 minutes or so ago.
Actually, M has a good idea. Fencing is really great. I did foil fencing, not saber or epee. I did foil, and that was a great stress reliever. Again, you were stabbing someone, so let's go back to the cross stitching.
Being the
something.
Being the stabber and not the stabby is always stress relieving.
This is true.
All right.
Oh, my turn, right?
Yep. Where can you find you? I was like, did we already do this part or yeah? But
I don't think so.
you
Well,
had me go for it.
you can find me at Aggie the Barkeep over on X. You can find me 8:30 p.m. Eastern Tuesday nights doing the Cocktail Lounge with the ever suave Brad Slager. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Friday nights doing He Said She Said with the awesome you. The second Wednesday of every month, the guys get together for Toxic Masculinity at 8 p.m. and I bring the drink of the evening. And Jeff and I do Spirited Books on the first Monday of every month, or we try to, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to slide out a little early and give the other guys time to get to, all settled and ready to go. Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody. M was goalie on the third team. That sounds painful, my friend. That sounds painful.